Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Doctor Who review, episode number 78. We're here reviewing the final story under the run of Peter David as the Doctor in this here, The Caves of Androzani. This story is considered to be one of the greatest Doctor Who stories of all time. And I didn't know this until several years after I watched this thing originally back in like 2009, 2010, I think it was. Yeah, I watched this originally on my laptop, on a different laptop mostly, on Dailymotion. I watched almost the entire series on Dailymotion. So I still occasionally use it, but I'm not going to say what channel to use, but that's why I watch it. Basically, now this story is only 4 parts, meaning it's only like an hour and 40 minutes tops. Oh, now this guy here is known as Salad Jack. Now, apparently there was like 7 other actors. Before I talk about the main story, I had to discuss about this guy who wears a mask. Now, the guy who plays him is a guy by the name of Christopher Gabe. He's the one who plays him. Here, who was originally considered to play the character. You may have heard of some of these people: Tim Curry, David Bowie, Mick Jagger, Derek Jacobi, John Hurt, Patrick Allen, Nicholas Ball, Stephen Burkoff, Brian Cox, Michael Gabin, Julian Glover, Martin Jarvis, Michael Jansen, Oliver Tobis. One of the General Cleek, who's like basically the guy. He is this guy right here that you see right here. Yeah, that's him. These are the guys originally considered before they got the guy who plays him. Were Steve Burkoff, Michael Gibbon, and Julian Glover. Morgus is not on here. He is actually he's right here on the cover. Morgus, the main villain of the story. This guy here. Here's considered to play him. Joss Ackland, Patrick Allen, George Baker, Ian Bennon, Julian Glover. Again, that's like 3rd characters he's considered for. Ian Hamm, Martin Jarvis, and Michael Jansen. Saltine. I don't remember who this character is. It's probably a different character. Stoltz, who is basically a mercenary. That's him right there. This is the people considered for him. For Stoltz: Patrick Allen, Alun Armstrong, Nicholas Bell, Steve Burkoff, Warren Clarkey, Ken Cope, and Michael Epic. Saltine, these are the actors that considered to play him: Nicholas Ball, Ralph Bates, Christopher Chamath, Tom Coben, Nicholas Clay, Brian Cox, and Donald Supper. Interesting. And apparently, Krempler was supposed to be played by Michael Craze. If you know who Mike Craze is, he played Ben from the first Doctor's run. He actually also appeared in some early stories for the second Doctor. They're going to bring him back, but the veto because happened with Jacqueline Hill, the one who played Barbara. Mm-hmm. So much fascinating stuff related to this story. Now, this story, it's nowhere for being the final story, regular story feature of Peter Davison as the 5th Doctor. It is the first full story to have Perry Brown in it, where she's an actual considered companion, because she has joined the crew at the end of the previous story. Here, she is just a official member. So it's like her first official outing as it came in, and the Doctor dies in the story. Well, he regenerates anyways. Yeah, so apparently there was some dialogue at the beginning that was cut. They had to re-record that. So Peter Davison and Nicole O'Brien had to reshoot their opening scene. So it sounds really weird. Like you can't exactly hear. It looks like an obvious voiceover, but still. So they have it as very minor because the Doctor, when look at some stuff, falls on tracks, enter the cave, and they get both infected. They don't know what it is until sometime later. Though this infection, believe it or not, is basically the lead into his regeneration. Yes, the Doctor being poisoned, which makes this probably the most painful regeneration he's probably gone through. I mean, at least it's not as crazy as falling from a freaking satellite dish like what happened with Tom Baker's Doctor. Actually, this was the second time basically was often poisoned, but at least it was on Earth this time, because that's a strange thing about the first the first few generations. When 1 transformed to 2, it was on Earth, mostly in Antarctica. When 3 transformed to 4, it was in Unit, and 4 to 5 was indefinitely in the UK. But still, it's the first one since the second to third Doctor that did not take place on Earth. Yes. Now, this would happen again about 2 more times. Now, this also is the first one since 10th Planet to have regeneration happen entire Earth. But I'll get some more regeneration later, and the story behind the replacement Doctor. So they're captured because they're come across some guns, and they're considered to be spies. And Morgus, the main villain of the story, sees them and immediately orders to be executed. Now, here's the thing. He has never seen Doctor before at all. And it's like, oh, he calls him ugly? Seriously, you're calling Nicole Bryant ugly, dude? Nicole Bryant at this time was hot. Yeah, and there's stuff related to her that Peter Davison liked about her. So, because very beautiful woman, and despite being companion, she actually does play a role of basically a big part in the story, and this also is the first time since Romana was there that we had only 1 companion. Not 2 or 3, 1. And the whole thing of having more than 1 companion, we not see this again. And this might surprise you. Like, we would have a 4-person crew for TARDIS. Not into Jodie Whittaker's run. Yes, because Sylvester McCoy had only 2 companions on screen. He had companions in spin-off material, but not in the main series. 8th Doctor only had 1 story, so not much to say about him. But in the case of Eccleston, he had 1 companion, though Mickey was there. Though he did have a brief second companion for like 1 story, and then basically he's gone and never seen again. In the case of David Tennant, he did have briefly Rose's boyfriend travel with them before they stopped, but never full time. Like, Jodie Whittaker came on board, we actually have 4-person crew, and it had been sort of dwindling for a while. Yeah, but mostly put basically throughout the companions, they've been getting rid of them slowly at a time. So they're captured, considered spies, in order to be executed for allegedly being spies and being accused of drug running. Yes, seriously. I do not know the reason why that they did this for, but they did. It is one of the most strangest things I've seen. Yeah, so, and then of course they're put in these red cloths, which, yeah, for the military. And oh yeah, and we also have this president there. He does practically nothing. He appears in 2 scenes, is mentioned a few times, but he does nothing. Like, my God, this guy does virtually nothing this whole story. Like, first time we see him, you have Morgus basically talking to him, and later on he finds, the assassination attempt against him, so he proceeds to drop him down elevator shaft. Yep. Yes, seriously. Opens up the elevator door, inside the elevator there, he drops down 50 stories, dying. Yes, he murdered the president because basically of stuff related to the story. Yeah. The guy's basically a crooked guy anyway, so. There's also much about a disaster that happened at this northern complex. So he's like, just brushed it aside. Despite the fact he knew all about what was going to happen there. So, yeah, and then of course, Dr. Perry supposedly killed at the end of episode 1, but nope. They're just androids. Yep, androids. That's the kind of Doctor and Perry getting killed. And they're taking the Sarah's Jack, who wears a mask. And we don't see what's on the mask until part 4. Yeah, and of course he kind of explains the reason why for the mask. Or apparently there was an experiment that basically he was involved with, and they kept talking about barriers, and apparently these barriers weren't down in time, so he got burned. And they also explained how this caves work, where like various levels, there's green, yellow, blue, and red. The army's in the green level for reasons not really explained here. Yeah, it's like, oh, let's have battles in the cave. Okay. That's the weakness I found in the story. It's like, it just seems as though like the technology basically, that's one thing I don't like about the story, is that the story is good. It's just the technology has been unbelievable. Like, you would think, set in the future, we have much better technology than this stuff. Well, I'm not going to blame the story. I'll blame the technology at the time, basically, for this. So, it's their fault, not the story. So, oh yeah, and this is when they found that they're actually infected with this particular virus, this poison, and the only cure is this giant bat that's kept in the lower levels, and milk from it can cure you. So, yeah, that's incentive for Doctor to do what he did in part 4. So then, of course, they have this other guy with him who escapes with Perry. So John, it turns out his assistant we see the whole time is actually an android the whole time. He managed to survive the stories despite his real self getting killed. Yeah, so there's also about this drug that's in this story that can extend life, which looks like cocaine. Which my guess is this is probably taking the popular drug trade of cocaine. That's probably what the inspiration is from. It is this whole thing with this drug. It plays so small of a role in the story. Half the time I forgot it was even there. Excuse me. Excuse me. So, also, Jack is actually attracted to Perry. Because Doc is known for traveling with hot women. I mean, here's the thing. I did think that Janet Fielding at the time definitely was very attractive. Yes. So was Nissa. Dino also was very beautiful at the time. Elizabeth Sladen. Yep. And when she got older, she looked great for her age. Like basically all of Dr. Female Companions, I've never considered them ugly. Never. It's like they do a really good job of casting very lovely women. And some of them look really good for their age nowadays. I mean, like, let's say, Sophie Aldred, which, aside from the wrinkles, she really didn't change all that much at all. No, I think she may have put on a few pounds, but she's still a great actress. Mm-hmm. But when she showed up in the series, she was hot. Oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, yeah, then they have this whole break in the cave. Doc gets capped by mercenaries. They managed to go turn shit back around with Ezra Major. So he goes back and goes down deeper, and apparently the android's all been killed. He actually bypasses the android and escaped. Because here's the thing. We see the two heart thing, which this is the first time we've done something like this, all X-ray inside of the Doctor's body. Not since the third Doctor this has happened. Yes, and he doesn't tell Jack that the reason why he bypasses androids because he was not human. Yes, he's an alien. Yeah, this is something that's never mentioned at all. I don't know if this is... there was some extended scenes I didn't get a chance to watch. I was mostly looking on the behind-the-scenes stuff for Duration Story. But I thought it was a really cool thing to bring up here. Oh, there were some things I forgot to mention last, so I'll talk about that at the very end. So, after Doctor basically breaks back into Jack's base, he goes down below. The Jack gives him this incentive because apparently he's trying to be a good guy now. And apparently his only incentive at the end of war is to hand out Marcus head on a platter to him. That's it. So, Daddy goes down, retrieves the milk, takes Perry, And also, there's a mud explosion going on. Yes, there's a little mention about lava from the previous episode started. We don't get more to that. Then, of course, Doctor takes Perry back to the TARDIS, so he proceeds to give her the antidote. And then he collapses. Right there on the floor. Yep. Yeah, collapses on the floor. And then he begins regeneration. Which is the first, I think, only time this has ever happened in Doctor Who. What I think actually is this actually was the second time this has happened in a row where Doctor Who's previous companions, like people he know, briefly in cameos, because we came here from Tegan, Turlo, Nyssa, Chameleon, Adric, and the Master. I have heard in the case of Nyssa and the Master, Nyssa, they had to pay a royalty fee to Johnny Byrne, and in the case of the reason why the Master's actor, the reason why he was able to come back to the story, well, they had trouble paying his salary because it was expensive. But I think everyone else is going to come back no problem. This also is the first of Adric's featured on the show at this point since his death in Earthshock. And then the Doctor generates into Colin Baker, the Sixth Doctor. And he says some words. He's like, Doctor, what's happened? Change, my dear. And a moment too soon. And that's how the story ends. I'll talk a little about more in a minute, basically, since I'm playing the fire. But now, there's a story behind of how the heck got the role. From what I've heard of the Brie, I've not really confirmed this at all. Apparently, John Nathan Turner met him at a party, Colin Baker, and just cast him on the spot to be the replacement Doctor. And apparently, the production team had no idea he did this. Oh, by the way, when Durations happened, the one thing that Peter Davison, he actually loved the story. It's his favorite story. Nicole Bryan loves the story too. The one thing he liked about the scene is that he was distracted by Nicole Bryan's cleavage. Yep. Yeah, and here's the thing about Nicole Bryan. For this story, like, same white shirt she wore in the last story, but she's not wearing bikini now. She actually looks like she's wearing a little more pants. Yeah, they actually changed her out a little bit. Now, that's basically what happened, and it just randomly happened that, Colin Baker just chosen it because of a party. And apparently he couldn't fit into the pants, the spare outfit of the Fifth Doctor. So he wore undone. And apparently he proceeded to moon Peter Davison's wife at that point. Yes, he mooned her. For reasons. Was Colin Baker chubby? I don't know. Nowadays he is, but I think maybe he's a little more chunkier. I think he just couldn't fit. Though he was able to switch out basically for bare pants when he switched out to his outfit, which a lot of people don't like. I'll get to more about that next one. But overall, really good story. And as in the case of some loose ends from the Chameleon, from the Planet of Fire, for Chameleon, the scene where the Doctor kills him. Apparently, despite the fact the acting is really good, Peter Davis was happy to see the thing go because he hated Chameleon. He hated the props so much. Let's see, what else? I think that was something I could think of that I remember I forgot for that one. That he basically was happy to see the thing go. Now, I still have not found the reason why that Mark Sterling, the actor who played Turtle, why he left the show. Yeah, at least in the case, you could theorize because he liked the way he's writing. Peter Davison, I actually have heard the reason why he left the show. There's actually a couple of reasons. One, because of the suggestion made to him by the Second Doctor, who he probably met during the filming of the Five Doctors. The other was, he wasn't a fan of a lot of the stories being put out at this period of time, and he said he would have stayed longer if he got more stories like the story here. He would have loved to stay if he got more stories like this. That's according to him. Now, I'm not sure Nicole Bryan got the role. He probably was cast, obviously, but the main reason why I picked the character to be American because the show is popular in the U.S. Still to this very day. But the actress is British, not American. Like, apparently apparently John Nathan Turner didn't follow his own memo, or at least whoever was a showrunner, basically during that period of time, to cast somebody who actually is from the country. Let's see, is anything else I forgot? Not really waves that one, no. But this story overall, this story is good. It's just the one thing I like about it is the level of technology it had at this point in time. That I think is the story's only weakness, is the level of technology. They had during the period of time that this particular story came out. But, yeah, good story overall. I'm gonna give it a 10. I'm gonna give it basically 9.5 out of 10. The only reason I give it higher, just because it's a really good story, is because of the technology. And well, another reason why, some of the hiccups they have with the story, minor ones. Problems I have with it's just minor ones, but still a good story nonetheless. Yeah, it's interesting though. 2 really good stories in a row, and we get the bad one next one. Yes, because next review for this one, I'm talking about the Twin Dilemma. But next up, I have 2 straight manga reviews to work on. First is going to be One Piece. And then we'll see My Hero Academia. And after that, it will be Bleach. Okay? See you. Bye.